Welcome. In this video, we're going to delve more deeply into button triggers and how they can be used in combination with variables. Let's begin by duplicating the 3 flashcards we made in the last video. We will now delete the hover and visited states from each card, replace these states with selected and disabled, and change the background for the disabled state to gray. The top cards will be modified to show text, while the lower cards will show a picture. After we have modified each card, we can see how they look in preview mode. Notice that the Reset button only resets the top 3 cards. To quickly add new triggers to the Reset button, we can copy and paste the existing code to the last trigger. Now we can easily change the button names by clicking on the current button name and selecting a new button name from the drop-down menu. Notice how each button is highlighted in red when moused over in the drop-down menu. In preview mode, we can see that the Reset button now resets all 6 of the cards. Disable any trigger by clicking on the Disable Trigger text that appears when you hover your mouse to the left of the trigger. Notice how the disabled triggers are grayed out with a strike through the text. This can be a useful feature for testing your code. Enable any disabled triggers by clicking on the Enable Trigger text. Click on the Manage Project Variables button to create a variable. I'm going to click on the green plus sign to create a move count variable. Set the type to number with a default number of 0. This variable will be used to count the end user's overall number of mouse clicks. To see this variable in action, we can insert a text box and type our variable between 2 percentage signs. Notice how the variable text is replaced by our default value of 0. Notice how the move count variable only counts the number of times the first card is clicked. This is because a move count trigger was only added to one card. Let's apply this trigger to the rest of the cards. Select a card, click on the Create a New Trigger button, scroll down to Adjust Variable, and then set an action to your variable. In this case, we're going to increase the value of the variable by 1 each time the end user clicks on that specific card. Another way to create a new trigger is to copy and paste an existing trigger. In this example, I'm going to copy the Adjust Variable trigger from our first button and paste it to the bottom of our Reset button's list of triggers. Then I can easily modify this trigger to set the move count variable to 0 when the Reset button is clicked. Notice that every card and the reset button have a move count trigger applied to them. Let's see how this looks in preview mode. Let's add 3 more variables: coffee, tea, and toast. Again, their type will be number, and their default value will be 0. After adding 3 additional labels with their respective variables, we can now add triggers that will increase by 1 each time the end user clicks on either the coffee text or image. Let's see how this looks in preview mode. We will add triggers to the reset button that will reset the coffee, tea, and toast variables back to 0. Next, we can apply triggers to the tea and toast cards that add 1 to their respective variables. Let's see how this looks in preview mode. We will now add our final variable called match count. This will increase by 1 every time the end user matches a text card with an image card. We can now create triggers with conditional statements. In this example, we want to say that the state of this card will change to disabled if the value of the variable coffee is 2 when the end user clicks on this particular card. Let's see how this looks in preview mode. Notice how the grayed out, disabled cards no longer respond to mouse clicks. We can now start copying and pasting from a completed card to fill in the missing triggers for the rest of the cards. Let's move on to the toast cards by using the hyperlink texts to easily change the variable and button names. At this point, we basically want a stripped-down memory or concentration game. When the end user clicks on a matching pair, those 2 cards should change to a disabled state and the match count should increase by 1. Double-check your triggers to make sure you are applying actions to the right cards. Finally, let's see how this looks in preview mode. Notice that when all of the matches have been found, each card is grayed out and disabled. Thank you for choosing Gamboodle. In our next video, we will add the finishing touches to our memory or concentration game.